We're back this weekend from the Atlanta Homestead. We've got to recap all the action from our second Homestead of the year, and we're going to look forward to some stage playoffs. So it's going to be a great show. As always, I'm Goopy Canoopy. I'm joined this week by Zach, one of our usual hosts, and then Rob is filling in for Mallory this week. She's out taking a day off, been working like
I got
crazy.
her though.
So we still have our Boston representation though, as always. So. Yes, we're going to get into everything, but before we do that, like we always do, we're going to take some time to reset our watch. Zach, do you want to do us the honors of starting us off?
I can start us off.
All right.
Currently, I am dog sitting for my dad. It's a good
Nice.
time. Got a big dog that we might be taking for a few months to our place,
Ooh.
which it'll be interesting.
Nice.
But other than that, just watch some of the Atlanta. Being sad about Gladiators missing out on playoffs, even though it was going to be a long shot with the weird situation they would have needed to get in.
Yeah.
Got the D&D stream with our boy Rob over here tomorrow on the Game Haus Twitch. Doing what I can.
Good stuff. Rob, what about you? What have you been doing lately?
DT TFT.
Yes. Down to Team Fight Tactics. Classic.
I still haven't played any of
Oh,
them.
it's so good, dude.
Dude, it is so much fun. Connor and I have put way too much time into it. That said, we are turning it into production though,
That's true.
which is good. We have produced more pieces on TFT than like anything else almost in the last
Probably any other
couple
site,
weeks.
honestly.
So,
We probably lead in
I
TFT
would be
coverage.
shocked if there's another site that has
Yeah.
more articles out about it than us.
Right.
So that recruiting, if you guys are looking, we to get your start in writing, we're a good place to go. A lot of people can attest to that. So we are looking for more as always. And then spring cleaning, Z House, and my actual house.
Nice.
And I know it's not actually spring, but just been doing a bunch of TGH work around, and then also been cleaning my house, which is why mine still looks a little messy right now. I've been moving stuff around, so
Nice.
yeah.
All right. Well, I took a weekend off. Went home for the 4th. Saw family. My in-laws have a pool, so I laid by that for several days. Did quite a bit of day drinking and got my All-Star jersey finally in the mail. Thank you, Fanatics, for the 1-month shipping. That is what we call not Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime speed.
I was gonna say Amazon could have gotten it to you too.
Yeah, sheesh. So that's okay. Like Rob said, also been playing a lot of TFT. I thought I was good when I started because everyone else sucked, but now I'm realizing I'm bad because I'm playing with good people. So it's been pretty humbling the past couple days playing, but you know what? Just motivation to get better. So,
Get good.
yeah, exactly. It has been fun writing about though. It's been a good, this is my second esporter game to cover outside of Overwatch now. And it's been a nice change of pace, just kind of good to, work with some of the other... It's like learning another language. You start to slowly get acquainted with things, so it's been fun. And then, just prepping for the Stage 3 playoffs and enjoying Atlanta. So, the same old stuff. But, let's go ahead and jump right into the games. So because this is the recap show, we like to just run quickly through the scores, give a quick update as to what actually did happen. And then we'll get into our player of the week and some other fun segments. But Zach, do you want to start us off with Saturday's games? What happened?
All right, let me run through this for y'all quickly. We got the Florida Mayhem falling to the New York Excelsior 3-0. They did tie a map, which I don't think a lot of us expected.
Yeah.
We had the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Justice, winning 3-1 there. We had the hometown Atlanta Reign beating the Toronto Defiant 3-1. And then we had the Guangzhou Charge taking on the Shanghai Dragons and winning 3-1.
All right. And Rob, what about Sunday? What did we have happen on Sunday?
A lot of fun stuff. Shanghai took down Fusion, which, I'm sure all of our Fusion fans that happened to be there, Kate and Darby, I'm sure that was pretty painful to watch, but good for Shanghai. I'm loving this comeback story for them right now, honestly.
Yeah.
Also, if you didn't vote for them in the ESPN esports poll, you suck.
They got
I'm mad at
trashed.
you.
They got trashed, man.
destroyed.
It's so annoying. To like
Ninja is a joke.
Yeah.
He is a joke. He has done nothing for esports. I said it.
Hot take.
He's a good man. He is a good man. He's a good gamer. But freaking Fortnite esports are garbage. You heard it here first. I don't like them.
Heard it here
I like the
first.
game itself, but their
Boom.
esports suck. Nate and
I
Answer
love
better
this.
save their butts or they're done.
True.
That's why they poached him to save their butts.
True.
That
True.
is literally the case.
And that all happened Sunday at the Atlanta Homestead.
Yeah. Washington Justice, Guangzhou Charge, Guangzhou 4-0. I actually thought this was going to be closer.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
I
I
agree.
really thought it was going to be closer. I think Washington might have stayed out drinking too long. I'm joking. I think they're all under 21, but I heard a lot of players were out drinking
That's
after
funny.
Saturday.
That's
so that's awesome. Florida got 4-0'd by Atlanta. Good for Atlanta to come home, defend their territory. That's going to be one of the coolest things that we see once people have home and away games. You know, what is that going to actually matter? Does the home crowd help? And from what we've seen from Dallas and Atlanta, two teams who weren't doing as well when they had both their homestands, they both went out and got it done.
That's true.
So that's really big there. And then, no surprise, New York takes it to Toronto 4-0. Sunday was pretty boring, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, the weekend in general was kind of just there weren't a lot of big ticket teams playing. I mean, you have Atlanta obviously because they're at home, but otherwise it was just kind of a bunch of teams that there's not a lot of excitement about them right now. But regardless, we'll get into that a little bit more here in a second. But we have to.
I'd like to point out one thing though.
Go ahead.
One thing.
Yes.
I saw this discrepancy. The Atlantic and the Pacific Division discrepancy in actual power, know, and strength of teams. I think we saw this here at Atlanta. Almost every Atlantic team, if they didn't play each other, just got stomped, or if they played New York, they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you play New York, you usually lose, unless you're Atlanta.
Only during the regular season, though, bro.
Yeah,
that's true. New York always chokes in playoffs. I wish that Atlanta would have played some tougher opponents on their homestand, but I also understand it's their first one. They really want to get that 2-0. You don't want them to play New York. Well, maybe you do because they're the bad luck charms for New York. But apparently. I don't know. I think Florida and Toronto aren't the most exciting games that the Atlanta fans could have come for.
Well, I think they knew Florida was going to be bad at the beginning of the year. I don't think they thought Toronto was going to be this bad.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, I think they're trying to set up the Florida-Atlanta rivalry, I would assume. Those are your two Southeast teams. You probably want some rivalry there, but...
Yeah, well, one of the teams actually has to be good for it to be a rival.
True. So I mean, I mean, both are bad, but Atlanta's at home, and they're not Florida bad, so it was a blowout. But in all this, we have to award our WatchHaus Player of the Week, brought to you by Peaches, just the fruit, just the fruit itself sponsors this WatchHaus.
What about Georgia? Could Georgia Peaches?
Just peaches, any peaches,
every peach,
just peaches out there.
I got some downstairs. I'll go grab them.
Yeah, they're sponsoring this event. They're sponsoring this segment. But our WatchHaus Player of the Week, brought to you by Peaches, is Mangachu. We get it. He lost in his game to the Rain, but he did all that mattered. He beat DeFran at the Torbjorn 1v1. We honestly couldn't give it to another player. We could have handed it to some Atlanta player who defended their home turf, or some New York player that dominated, but that's boring. The only other contender was Baby Bay because he wrecked Bren. That was the only other contender.
I will say, Bren got 2 of the kills that he got handed to him. I would say 2 of the ones that he got were pretty legit.
Yeah.
And I had to give him props on that one because he definitely... Because, I mean, obviously you could take on an Overwatch League player and get destroyed, but the last time he did it was against a main tank. So this time against someone who actually plays Widowmaker, to actually get 2 off of there isn't too shabby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and he was saying he was practicing versus top 500 Widowmakers and all this stuff, but... It is good that the pro won here. If an analyst would have come in and beat a Overwatch League DPS player at DPS, we'd have some major issues just overall at a baseline. So
maybe Grunto would sign him.
Maybe Grunto. At this point, they're signing anyone. So just kidding, Grunto, you're great. But before we get into our main segment, I thought we could just kind of talk about the Homestead as a whole. This is these are always fascinating discussion points. There's a lot hinging on how these homesteads go, based on the fact that we're planning on localizing next year. So I thought we could just talk about it in general. Some things that I noticed, and maybe a talking point we could get to first, is the Dallas homestead, I believe, was 4,500 capacity. and they packed it out, sold out 2 days. I think this one was somewhere in the 23 to 2,500 range. I could be wrong on that number, but I think that's what I saw.
I want to say you're right because it was a theater more than it was.
And that's the other point I was going to make is it's this old timey theater, which is cool. It's almost like a cool mixing of old and new cultures and performance and entertainment and stuff. But it did only have half the attendance, and reportedly from people who were at the arena, about 60% of the fans left after the Atlanta games, which were third on the docket. So you had the final game of the day for a crowd of 1,000 people, roughly, which is about the Blizzard Arena, attendance at max. But still, is this a cause for concern, or is this just a byproduct of the weird homesteads this year? What are you guys' thoughts on the attendance?
I think it's okay. I think we need to look at it in the sense that Overwatch League is different than any other kind of like sport or that you're going to go watch somewhere. Like, say you head over somewhere and you go, like, say, I mean, you're in Atlanta, you go see an Atlanta United game. You're going to see 90 minutes of soccer. You're going to have 15 minutes break in between, and that's about it. You come to these Overwatch League events, there's 4 games happening, and those games can take upwards of 90 minutes. Depending on how they happen. So I think it's fair that not everyone's not going to stay for every game because there's other things going on. That's a whole day event. Maybe you just wanted to see your team play. Mm-hmm. I think what they should maybe start looking into is game passes rather than just like a day pass.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting for fans who really is like, say someone's a big New York fan and only wants to go see the New York teams play. Don't make them spend the same amount of money as someone who's going to camp out all day and be there for every single game.
Yeah, I will say, I think the only worry with that is if it's in Atlanta, like, who's going to pay for a, Guangzhou, Shanghai game? Like, will those games just have less tickets bought? I wouldn't think it would be a huge issue, but I could see, like, the Atlanta home day pass just, like, selling out quickly. But I agree with you. I mean, I think that when I went to the Dallas Homestead, I was there all day for both days. And by the end of it, I was just exhausted. I mean, granted, I was working a little bit too, but just the being at the arena for that long, I mean, these are full day events. It's like going to a music festival is almost how it's comparable to. A lot of times you go to a music festival to hear your favorite artist, not just to go stay the whole, 48 hours and get dehydrated in camp and do LSD. That's not necessarily what you do. So I think, I agree it's not a huge cause for concern. I'm glad the Atlanta fans showed up, and I'm okay with them stepping out of the arena for a little bit. I mean, like you said, there was a lot going on. I also heard good reports. There was a lot going on around the stadium, around the arena. There was there was a Coca-Cola booth, and there were always player signings and just different events going on. So if you're an Atlanta fan, you might just want to really soak in the Atlanta atmosphere rather than sitting there and watching a 4-0 at the end of the day. So I agree with you. I don't think I have a ton of cause for concern, but I have seen people who do. Rob, what about you? What do you think?
I got a couple points. First one is, so I've done the theater and the arena. Mm-hmm. So League last year had their Miami games at the arena. I think it's called the Fillmore down in Miami. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful theater. Attendance sold out, everything. It provides a very different sort of atmosphere, though. Obviously a lot smaller, a lot more enclosed. I think wrote a piece about this maybe a little over a year ago, comparing the two, and the arena feel is almost less intimate, and so I think they did this on purpose to try to test them out. I think they wanted to see what the arena was like in Dallas, what the theater is like, and what works, because right now we see Philadelphia building their stadium, right, their arena. That's going to be a lot more theater-like, right? But there will be people who may want to do a small stadium, a small arena, or who may go into their basketball arena or their hockey arena, just depending on where they're at. Yeah. So I think they're just trying to kind of test the waters there. And I actually think it's really important that Atlanta fans did leave. Because to me, that shows that they have a hella big fan base. Because right now, we're seeing in LA, Blizzard Arena only holds about 500 people, I think. It's like somewhere between 450 and 500. And when they don't sell that out, I mean, it looks bad, right? Like, it just doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
with Atlanta fans, if they make another one similar size, 500 people, maybe 600 people for their arena, right? They know that they're going to sell out a lot of those games, right? Because they've got a fan base of well over 2,000 people. So it's good to see in that regard. It's bad that the Overwatch League didn't really think about that. Like, I know they don't want to make the Atlanta fans wait till the end, but at the same time, if you're planning this out, you want to sell more stuff, you want to keep people in the stands, you don't put Atlanta, not last as well, to kind of put the emphasis on them. So I think that it's good. From what I've seen, the reports are they had learned a lot PR-wise as well. So for media, that's really big.
Yeah.
And they obviously learned a lot from Dallas in the way that they handled the event. So it's good to see that people are going out to watch the games, and it's good to see that there are so many fans specifically of a brand new team. Let's not forget that too. Yeah. Atlanta wasn't here in year one.
Yeah.
This is year one for them, and they were still able to sell out 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
That is huge. That is massive in esports right now. That just does not happen for teams specifically outside of Cloud9 or TSM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Jacob Wolf included that in his report for ESPN, that this is a team that was able to, in 12 months or whatever, turn a full expansion team, make a roster, set up a homestand, and that sort of timeline should give people hope. I know there's a lot of fear looming for the localization coming next year. Rightfully so. It's a daunting task. But seeing that on a micro level with Atlanta, a team able to fully set up, get their operations going, and then build a stadium, should give fans some hope for localization. Like, this kind of thing can be done. There are enough people on it. There is enough productivity behind it. And I don't think they're going to be expansion teams for next season. But the ones that are coming after that, I think this sets the precedent for them that, you can set up in an off season, or, working a while before that probably, but you can set up and have a stadium going pretty quick,
It's going to look really good for investors. Investors are probably thrilled. The Atlanta investors specifically, I think they're the Cox family. They're like a big family there in Atlanta. Actually, Robert Kraft, I know he's not a popular name right now, but at the time, he actually went down and convinced them to be the first new franchise for this coming year. Wow. So, they're probably pumped right now. That is huge. I don't think you guys understand, how big that is, because that's going to get more teams. Apparently, I just saw a report, Germany and Sweden and Finland and all of them, they didn't want teams because they were kind of worried about this. And, if you think fans turn out for Atlanta, man, Berlin, Stockholm, you're going to get fans out the wazoo.
Yeah, it'll be big. It'll be big.
Last big thing here.
Just give me a Chicago team.
Yes.
Yes, please, God.
And Minnesota, if we follow in the footsteps of... Call of Duty, it looks like.
Call of Duty. Yeah. Looks like Minnesota might get one. I will say the biggest thing for all of you who are watching, support your local teams even if you don't like them. That's the biggest thing in year one or in year 3 next year. You have to go to these games if you can. I'm not saying go and just waste your money, but go see games if you can. Yeah. Expose your friends to it, do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, even if you're even if you're not a Florida fan living in Florida, go root for the other teams that are going there that you do like, kind of a thing. That makes a lot of sense. I totally agree. Totally agree. But let's go ahead and move on. We can kind of intersperse some more talk about the Homestead as well if we want to. But I thought a fun segment we could do tonight would be, looking at a few of the teams. I think we're looking at 6 on the bubble teams. We're in the really, really close playoff race right now. And I'm sure the preview show will talk about this more on Thursday. They might be focused more on the Stage 3 playoffs. But we want to look at season playoffs here tonight. The 10th through 15th seeds are all only separated by, I think, 2 games from 10th to 15th. And most of those are 1 game apart in the middle. So with that, you have, obviously, 12th and up gets you in the play-in games at the end of the season, which gives you a chance to be in the season playoffs. If you're 8th and above, you're secured. So these 9 through 12 seeds are very important. And there are a lot of teams fighting for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a game called In or Out. Aptly named after In-N-Out Burgers, which is just another classic staple of the Overwatch League. I couldn't quite do that. But so I'm going to read a team, their overall season record currently, overall season standing as well, and then their Stage 3 record, because we have to look at the most recent tape a lot of the times when we're scouting teams. Granted, Stage 4 is going to bring a whole different meta. We're going to exclude that primarily from the conversation, only because Overwatch League hasn't confirmed anything. We heard a lot of rumors before Stage 3, and it didn't happen. We've heard a lot of rumors before Stage 4. Some people within the Overwatch community being like, yeah, it's going to happen. But we can't go off that because we just haven't had it confirmed. So we're going to exclude that from the debate here tonight. So we're going to start it off at the top. We're going to go for the Dallas Fuel. They are 10th overall currently. They are sitting at a 10-11 season record. And they, of all the teams, did the worst in Stage 3, going 1-6. Now in 3, I'm going to count down from 3. And after I say 1, we're going to say whether this team is in or out. We each get 3 in and 3 out. So use these carefully. Okay. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Out.
Out.
So we all 3 think that the 10th overall team will not make the season playoffs. I want to hear the rationale for this. Rob, why aren't Dallas going to make it, dude? They're so good, right?
Oh, they're so good. They're so good. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. And especially if we're not taking into account 2-2-2. Okay. This team had a pretty light schedule to start, and it doesn't really get much easier going forward. I believe, if I remember correctly, they have both LA teams.
They have a really tough strength of schedule.
Yeah. Here, I can get it to you in just a second. Yeah, they've got they've got, I think, both Atlanta teams. They've got, LA teams. They've got the Spitfire and maybe New York or something like that.
San Francisco and the Spark.
Yeah, there you go. Dude, if they even win one game, even one in next stage, I'd be really surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop to the bottom 5.
Yeah.
Very quickly. And I know we're doing like the 15, so that may sound really dumb, but like if they go above 10 and 17 this year, I will be really surprised.
Yeah.
Or 10 and 18, sorry.
That's fair. Zach, what about you? Why do you have the Fuel out?
I didn't even know their strength of schedule for next stage, and that just fully reinforces the fact that they are. They had a pretty easy stage 2, and that also included their own homestand, where they went 2-0, and I think that kind of gave them some confidence. But going forward, I just think this stage has kind of been a bust for them, and I think that they haven't really adjusted to the meta well and will not continue to adjust to the meta well. I think they tried to make some moves, like that trade from Boston, but I don't think it's enough. I think that they could take 1, maybe 2 games next stage, 2 being the max. I think that some of the other teams in this 10 to 15 spot are just playing a lot better and have a much better chance of getting into the playoffs. Dallas everyone since last season has been hyped on Dallas, and I just have never gotten it. Maybe because I didn't know the history of the team beforehand and stuff, sure. I've never liked Dallas. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting. I think that we're taking 2-2-2 out of it, so this is kind of a tough thing. They are one of the most well-equipped coaching staffs. If that does happen and coaching staff is of a premium, you can maybe make the case there. I don't really want to consider that because we haven't confirmed anything. That's going to happen. But, I just don't see it. I mean, the performance recently has been really bad. OG basically having to sit for a while is not a good sign. He's kind of your core. They've been shuffling DPS. When you start to shuffle positions in 75% of the way through a season, it's just not a good look, and not a good look for finishing strong and making playoffs. Like, I just don't see it. So if it weren't for some of these surging teams that we're going to get to later, I may have them sneaking in, but I think they're going to get overtaken. It looks like, 14 wins is pretty safe to get you in the season playoffs, I would guess. And, I don't see them getting 13 would be really lucky for them, I think. So, I agree. So, let's go ahead and jump down. We're unanimous. Dallas is not making the playoffs, so you don't even need to watch their games. It's over. So, good. Solve that. Solve the big things here on the show tonight.
Coming from a Houston fan, no surprises.
That's true, yeah. We'll get there eventually. But next up is the Atlanta Reign, currently sitting at 11th overall in the standings. They are one of the plethora of 9 and 12 teams we're going to talk about. And they went 2-5 in Stage 3 with their only 2 wins coming at their homestead. Before the homestead, they were 0-5. Significant to note. So
that's all they know how to do. They just win 2 games in a row. That's it.
That's all they know how to do, exactly. So, Atlanta Reign, are they in or out in 3, 2, 1? Out.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Another unanimous out. Look at that. Fancy. All right, Zach, I'll let you start us off this time. Why is Atlanta not making the playoffs, dude?
I think that, again, their only 2 wins this stage came from their homestand, where they have the home crowd behind them, and they weren't particularly hard opponents.
Yeah.
Looking at their schedule, they've got games against Hangzhou, Paris and Houston, Washington, London, Dallas, and Boston. So I think that's a pretty mediocre. Could go either 4-3, 3-4. You could even drop down to 2-5. But yeah. I don't think they have all the pieces that they needed. I think that they're still kind of suffering the loss of Dufran and not being able to really bridge that gap. And especially, I know we're trying to avoid the 2-2-2 talks, but with that, he would have been immensely helpful. So I don't see I see Atlanta maybe getting a few more wins, but not enough to push them into top 12.
Yeah, I agree. I think we bring this up, the thing with Dufran. I think when you look at Mangachu and Logix, those would have been 2 excellent players for the Reign. The Reign is kind of going for this Western, pretty popular, a lot of high personality players. Well known, going to sell jerseys, good stuff, kind of like a little Houston model ish, and those would have been 2 great pickups, but they just didn't get them. They just wasn't. The Toronto's rebuild is kind of going in that direction more so. So I think there was a little bit of maybe they were money locked, or maybe they were just stagnant with making aggressive moves. Maybe they're not in a win now mode for their first season. I really don't know what the reason is, but I agree. I think that they've kind of leveled off. These last 2 stages have just been really unimpressive. Again, 2-2-2 is a mystery. We don't know. But factoring that out, I think at best they win 4 games, go 4-3, and end the season with 13 wins, which I just don't know if it's going to be enough. With map differential and different things, if you're at 13, to me, you're on the bubble. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but that's just what it's looking like right now. Rob, what about you?
For me, they were... I almost said yes. I was very close, because I do think Baby Bay has actually come in and done a much better job than I expected, considering he hasn't seen the stage up until he got traded for almost a full year, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
He's been playing pretty well. I also think Daco is a lot better than people give him credit for. I know people don't really like him for his off the stage stuff, but and that's totally understandable, by the way. I totally get that. But if we're looking at it, strictly from how he plays right now, I think if they can find a way to even be, 12-16 by the end, they might squeak in. But for right now, I just don't see that happening. I think there are some teams below them, including Toronto, who could potentially make a similar run. I'm going to be honest. I could see... I think it's almost as likely to see somebody like a Toronto finish with as many wins as Atlanta does.
Wow.
Going into next stage, once they have a little more time to gel. They're not on our list, so I didn't vote for them. Yeah. But they, like you said, 14 wins pretty much seals it. 13-12 is going to be right about where you need to have it. And I just don't... if Atlanta continues their trend, if nothing else, they're only going to have 11. So
yeah.
It was tough.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right on to the next team. At 12th is the Chengdu Hunters, also sitting at 9-12 this season with a 3-4 stage record this season, or the stage 3. So yeah, let's just do this. 3, 2, 1.
Out.
Rob saying in. Our first disagreement.
Oof, wow. Rob is wrong.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys work this one out. Zach, why is Rob wrong?
Taking a look at Chengdu's schedule,
Yes.
they can win 2 games this stage, which will be in week 1, where they play Philly and Boston.
Yeah.
After that, they play the Gladiators, the Excelsior, the Spark, the Shock, and
The Outlaws.
Houston.
It's a tough schedule.
It's not going to happen. They can maybe squeeze a 3rd win in there, maybe. But they're not going to beat the Gladiators. They're not going to beat New York. They're not going to beat Hangzhou. If San Francisco continues to be weird, they could maybe beat them, and they could maybe beat Houston on one of those fringe teams. But I think San Francisco is not going to lose that game to them. I think generously they have 3 wins this season or this stage.
All right,
Rob, make your case.
I get what you're saying, but you got to remember those teams that they face at the end will not at the end really, but like the Spark and the Shock, they're not gonna have anything to play for.
That's a good point. Yeah,
they're not gonna have anything to play for. Okay, I think they get those first 2 wins. I think they beat Philadelphia. I think they beat Boston, and then I get what you're saying. I could even see them potentially beating Houston depending on what happens with next stage. I think if there's a team that has gone out there and surprised us most, it's been Chengdu, right? They consistently go out with something new. They are willing to push the meta, and that is enough to surprise teams into losing. And I know that sounds really far-fetched and stupid, but that's what they do. They bend the meta to whatever they want it to be. And the other thing that factored into my decision is a numbers game, guys. It's a numbers game, and not only do we need to choose 3 teams, but when it comes down to it, I think there are some teams even above this that might lose a lot of their games.
That's fair.
So I see them getting that magic 3 wins where they're right on the fringe. I see them being 12-16 by the end of the season. And I think map differential, where are they at right now? They're -11, so they're going to have a good one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that being said, the teams below them that we're looking at and the teams above them,
yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. There's 4 spots, and I think it's just a game of numbers at this point, guys. And I think that if Dallas isn't going to make it, and if Atlanta's not going to make it, Philadelphia might fall out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope Philly falls out.
I know you do, but I don't necessarily.
Yeah.
But that's my argument for them.
Yeah.
I think that it's a numbers game, and I think if there's a team that's going to surprise some people with a massive meta shift, or without one, either way, they're going to fight their way into making it. And I think they still needed time to get their last 2 pieces kind of put together.
Yeah.
So
I think that we'll know after week 1 if they even have a chance. I mean, if they clean 4-0 Boston and Philly, I think we really have a conversation to be had at that point if they can make a run against some of these really top tier teams. They just haven't looked super strong against good teams this season. Outside of they did beat San Francisco 3-2 last stage. So I mean, that's me eating my words a little bit, but I see this team. I'm a big Chengdu fan. I love Amang. I love everything about this team. I actually see this team doing really, really poorly to end the season. I think they'll maybe only win 1 game. I think they'll end really, really low. So I'm not
say that about this stage too, and the stage before.
Yeah.
And the stage before that.
So
they're consistency at its finest. They go 3-4 every single stage.
They're consistently 3-4, and I think even if they go 3-4, they probably won't make it. That's what I'm saying. Is I think they need to go 4-3, 5-2.
You guys are forgetting how to count. There are 4 teams that got to make it, guys. There are 4 teams in this range that have to make it.
Well, there's 3 in the range we're talking about. 3, yeah.
Well, 3 technically, but sorry, again, Philadelphia, man.
I think Philly and London are about safe because Philly's going to go off on DPS with Carpe and EQO. They're going to be Unchained.
But we're not supposed to be taking into account.
It's back here in the back of the brain, but I
breaking
can't
his own rules.
Exactly, that's so true. Anyway, let's just move on from this toxic subject that's dividing our friendship here. But it is an interesting one. I think that will be one of the most interesting teams to watch, where strength of schedule really will play a big factor. Guangzhou Charge is next. They're 12th overall. They're the last 9-12 team we're looking at. They went 4-3 last stage. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Good.
In.
This is the one. So we are in agreement about the final two, it looks like, but this will be our last disagreement. So this one's interesting. I can start us off. I think Guangzhou is one of the most interesting teams to predict in the league. They have just been a pillar of inconsistency. But if we're looking at really recent stuff, like they have some pretty solid games recently. I mean, they beat Shanghai at the Homestead even, and then some good games before that. And their strength of schedule isn't too bad. I mean, you play in Stage 4, you play Philly, Boston, London, Hangzhou, Seoul, New York, Dallas. So I think in that, I don't think Seoul is going to look very good on two. Never mind. I don't think Seoul looks very good right now in general. But I also don't. I don't know. I think a lot of these games are winnable. I see more winnable games here for Guangzhou than I do Chengdu. And for me, they're at the same record. I don't know their map differentials. I'm assuming they're close. I have to give the edge to Guangzhou. I have too much faith in the two teams below this to give it to anyone else. But I think it's going to be Guangzhou and those two teams we're about to get to. Because this is just of the 9 and 12 teams we've looked at. And I guess I'm not counting Dallas because I think they're hot garbage right now. Of the 9 and 12 teams, it just looks to me like Guangzhou has the best shot. I mean, games left. They're a good core. They're getting better. They've looked progressively better all season. I just see it happening for them, honestly. I see
progressively better as in not losing every single map for 3 weeks straight, maybe.
Yeah.
4?
So, but I think they look much better than that. I would rather that. No. I'd rather them start winning than a 3 and 4.
What if they do that again, though? I mean,
that'd be
wouldn't
bad.
A more consistent team be something that's more reliable?
But I think the consistency that Chengdu is doing is not enough. I think you need more right now. I think Guangzhou has a higher probability of giving you that. That's all I'm saying.
Have you seen their schedule fully, though? Have you really looked at it?
I'm looking at it. Right now.
They're playing New York.
Okay.
They're playing London.
London.
Right?
I think they can beat London. I think they can beat.
They're
London.
playing Seoul.
London's
I think they can beat Seoul. I think they are going to lose to Hangzhou and New York.
I think you are sipping the Kool-Aid of their recent.
They go 5-2. 5-2.
You're sipping the Kool-Aid of them beating Shanghai.
We'll see, man.
I'm
calling 5-2 easy peasy.
Here's how it goes. I'll be in the middle of this doubting sandwich here. Okay.
Doubting sandwich.
I guess it's optimistic sandwich. I'm in the middle of this optimistic sandwich. I think the Chargers are a good team. Don't get me wrong, and I hope they make it. I actually really do. I've liked them since the beginning. Not as much as Chengdu, but I have found them to be interesting. I just don't know that they have it, and I know that this core is getting better. They did beat Shanghai. I do think it's a very different atmosphere, though. I think it's very different to be playing in Atlanta than to be playing in LA.
Yeah.
I do think that they are going to lose to some teams, and I think you got to remember this too. Their last game, they are the very last game against Dallas, and that could be a deciding game.
It could be
in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So if you think Dallas are going to just lay down,
no, I don't.
One of their easiest games. Well, you clearly do.
I don't think Guangzhou's going to lay down either, though. I think Guangzhou's going to.
Puts them, if they lose that game, that puts them at 2-5.
But Dallas are trash. Why are we talking about this?
Dallas went 1-6 last stage.
I'm not saying that they're not, but Dallas has had times where they do look coherent.
Right.
And if they make the right changes, right? If they make the right changes, that team could make a run.
Totally.
And I think that I'm just going to say this, and maybe it's be biased just from friends and everything else, but I do think Dallas has more talent overall, that they're just not using it correctly. I think they have too many cooks in the kitchen. It's not. I know it's not about them, but I think Guangzhou. And again, I'm probably being optimistic, but I think it's going to come down between these two teams. I think it's going to be between Chengdu. I think it's going to be Guangzhou.
I can say it too.
And I think that because the Hunters have been more consistent, I think that if Guangzhou lose one game that they are expected to win, even one, that could tilt them. That could tilt them, and it could be done.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I would rather take the consistency than take the team that had the longest losing streak in Overwatch League history.
I am all about the inconsistency.
Yes.
Because the reason I'm all about the inconsistency are the London Spitfire of last season.
That's true. Yeah.
London Spitfire were the definition of inconsistency. They somehow take stage 1 playoffs after like a insane day of playing how many games,
Yeah.
and then just kind of fall off the face of the earth for a while. Squeak in as one of the last seeds in the playoffs and absolutely just go ham and win the whole thing. I'm not saying that Guangzhou are London level.
Sure.
I'm just saying they're going to squeak into that playoff bracket thing. They're going to lose in the first round of that playoff bracket thing, most likely. I just think they have a better chance because optimistically, I think they're going 4-3 this stage. I think realistically 4-3 is a good number for them. And if they can go 4-3 and the Hunters still go 3-4, again, going back to it, Rob, that's a numbers game for you. So,
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. But again, I just don't think they've really yet to prove anything to us.
Neither of the teams have really.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are both. So yeah, I think I will say as a caveat to all this, I think that Guangzhou is going to get in at 12th, and it's going to be barely. I think the two teams below them that we're about to get to are going to jump everyone and destroy this fourth stage. Honestly, especially the Valiant, which we're going to get to.
Let's play one more number game real quick before we jump into these two, because these two are a lot easier. Let's say they both finish 3-4, which is definitely possible. Who do you think is less likely to get 0-4'd against the good teams?
Who is less likely to get 0-4'd? I honestly don't know.
I'd say I would give Chengdu. I would give Chengdu to that. I agree.
I honestly don't know, dude.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. Let me look at their map differentials really quick. Let me pull this up.
Dude, they're the exact same right now.
Oh, really?
They're both hilarious. -11. That's what I'm saying. Like, this could come down to map differential for them, and I have a lot more faith in Chengdu not losing 0-4 as many times.
Well, they have the same map differential, though, so their probability-wise, it's the same. Of getting 4-0'd.
I get that. I'm saying for the last stage.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying for the last stage, who is less likely to get 0-4'd?
I don't know, man. See, I see Chengdu is more likely to get 0-4'd because of the teams they're playing. But I see Guangzhou.
I'm fine with whoever is going to go 0-4. I still think
have had more 0-4s outside of the bottom two teams than anybody else in the Overwatch League.
Definitely could be.
I'd have to get somebody to check the math on that. But I again, if they get beat bad in a map, you see it. They go like this.
And Guangzhou.
Sorry, you can't
throw map differential out the wind. Doesn't matter. I think it's more likely that Guangzhou goes 4-3 than Chengdu goes 4-3. So,
okay, I'll give you that.
All right. Well, hey, let's move on to this one because we're going to agree on the last two. So these are going to be hunky-dory discussions. No, but this is very interesting though. So the LA Valiants next. You're at 14th overall, 8-13 on the season, 5-2 last stage. We all have thumbs up for these because we have no more thumbs down left. Thumbs up. I'll walk us through the.
I'm middle. I'm gonna be honest. I'm totally middle.
Okay, middle.
Ooh.
I'm only a yes because of the numbers game.
I'll take us through their schedule really quick, and then I'll let you guys jump in it. They play Paris week 1. Week 2 is Seoul, Dallas. Week 3 is Florida. Week 4 is Boston. Week 5 is the LA weekend, where all the California teams play each other, and they play the Gladiators and the Shock. So tough last 2 games, but it is kind of like their home weekend thing. All those teams are going to be playing that way, though. Those games are honestly toss-ups to me. Those teams are all going to be playing out of their minds. They're going to want to win those games. Even if Shock's already clinched, even if Gladiators have already clinched, they're going to play for those games, I would think. Sandbagging has proven not to work in the Overwatch League. So, yeah, but the games before are pretty interesting. So, Rob, what are your initial thoughts on the Valiant?
Okay, so I didn't realize their strength of schedule was literally a cakewalk, but but that said, this team still has a lot to overcome. Whether you like it or not, they're still a game behind the teams above them, so they have to go 5-2 or 4-3. Literally have to.
Yeah.
To still make it.
Yep.
Which has, will be said about the teams below them. So, whether we like it or not, and I don't even think I took this into consideration with the teams above them. I mean, if those teams above them get lucky, literally twice, that's all they need, and then both of the teams below are out. So,
yeah.
Here's what I'm going to say. I think the Valiant have really brought something special together. But I also don't think there's a lot of tape on them. Okay, at an Overwatch League level. And while they've shown a lot, tape has, in any sport or esport, has proven to be very important. Okay, cats be damned.
Really important. Really important. So serious.
And in all seriousness, I think teams are going to prepare for them a lot differently than they did this stage. And I could see them losing a little bit more than we expect. And the sad thing is that if they lose that crucial third game, I think they're out. I'm still giving them a thumbs up
For the Valiant? Oh, yeah, I agree.
Who I'm most confident in.
Oh, I totally agree.
But out of the 3 teams that I'm giving a yes to, I'm actually least confident in them.
Really?
Again, that one game is huge.
Yeah.
That one game is massively. It's a big decider. It is, because if they even go 4-3, all it takes is for Atlanta, Chengdu, Guangzhou. I mean, shit. Even if Dallas goes 2-5,
yeah.
If map differential
right.
is the indicator,
Yeah.
then those teams would beat them out.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have a lot less confidence in the Valiant. I'm just gonna say it. I still give them a thumbs up, but it's kind of shaky for them.
Okay, Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them going less than 5-2. I think that, I mean, as Rob said, like, they need to go 5-2 pretty much, but I don't see, again, that last weekend is a toss-up. Like, they could range anywhere from 5-2 all the way to 7-0, which would be insane considering where they were in stage 1, and no one, including myself, would have seen anything like this happening. I remember laughing as hard as I could when they lost that 7th game as a Gladiators fan. But you know, they've really shown that they can battle with the best of them. I think that you've maybe got that Seoul game as the hardest of their first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think they'll go 5-2 again this stage like they did in stage 3. And get themselves a spot in that knockout bracket.
Yeah, I think so. I'm predicating a lot of my stuff on these next few on the fact that I'm not very high on Seoul. I think Seoul will be in the play-ins. I don't think they'll secure a playoff spot. That's just a personal take, separate from this. I think they'll end 9 through 12. I think my hot take of the day that I actually think is going to happen is I think the Valiant and the Outlaws are both going to go 6-1. To close out and be 2 of the favorites going into the playoffs in this lower column. I think they're gonna 5-0 their first 4 weeks of games, and I think they're gonna split either against the Gladiators or the Shock. I think those games, if they're 5-0 going into that, they're anyone's games. Like it's a coin flip. Those, I mean, if they're playing 5-0 or 5-0 against like Seoul and the other teams they're playing, I think they could beat the Gladiators or the Shock pretty easily. It'd be close games, obviously. Those games are going to be close all weekend. I expect a lot of map 5s, but realistically, I mean, looking at the moves they've made, and they've really hit the right stride at the right time. They have good players at each position, 2-2-2 or not. I think this team is going to do really, really, really well. And the Overwatch League is a weird thing because of just the way, I mean, you can't judge a team by their stage 1 or even hardly their stage 2 right now. It's just, to me, it's so much about stage 3. Again, this is what a lot of my stuff is predicated on, is how have they been doing recently, because some teams have just fallen into non-existence recently. Like, I have a hard time with a team like Toronto or Boston or Paris because, you know, sure, they're in the same relative category as these teams, but they've just looked so garbage lately. So, I mean, Valiant have honestly looked like a top 10, top 7 team. So I have to say they make it. I mean, they're going to give it their all. I think they end the season, like I said, with 14 wins and make it in. So definitely going to be tough, you know, obviously. But, I think them and Houston both get to 14. So
I think that honestly, this play-in bracket might be more exciting than the actual season playoff.
Yeah, it's true. It's gonna be some crazy games deciding who gets the last spots or whatever it is, last 2 spots maybe or something like that. So Yeah. So, but we all think they're in. This is, Rob, you said this is the one you're least confident about. This is probably the one I feel most confident about. I'm definitely least confident about the Charge. I'm very iffy between the Reign and the Charge. Those are the two that I think are going to be very close for that 12th spot.
I think Rob convinced me that Chengdu is it's going to be between Chengdu and Guangzhou. I think Rob did a very good job arguing, and I think that he's got me sold. Not quite enough to change my vote, but enough to have it be between those two. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, all those ones are those three teams. I think are going to be insane, and seeing two of them not make it will be really unfortunate. I think.
And do you guys want to know how insane Week 4 is going to be? Do you know who Chengdu play in their very last game?
Who?
The Houston Outlaws.
That's big, yeah.
Dude, all I'm saying is, I think
that'll be a playing game for both teams.
So, are we moving on to Houston?
Yeah, I think we do. Houston. I can read through it really quick. We can get into it. They're 15th, 8-13. They're 5-2. They're a clone of the Valiant. So go ahead, Rob. We're all saying it.
So here's what I'm going to say. I think that the reason why the Valiant, for me, and this will play into Houston here, the Valiant, that team has yet to do anything major now we'll see how they do this playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be really big for them. If they lose bad in the first, or if they somehow make it to the second round, right, then I will even feel better. I will feel even better, because I think that sometimes in esports we take out factors, and the only reason I found this is we were actually looking at getting a PUBG team at one point, not too long ago. And one of the things that the general manager, he's general manager now of another team, was talking to me about is he's like, you have to consider where people are playing and what they have played in, right? And while a lot of these Valiant players have some, Overwatch League stage experience, that pressure could get to them. Mm-hmm. Why I am more confident in Houston is they have a bunch of vets. They know how to go get it done. They know the pain of losing, and they know how it is to win. I think that 6-1 for them is very likely.
Yeah.
That said, they still play a very tough schedule this stage. Like, I know that people maybe don't want to count it, but I mean, that Gladiators game is not going to be easy.
There's 3 to 4 losable games.
Yeah, I think where else? They beat Atlanta.
I mean, you have Philly, Gladiators, London, and Chengdu.
London is going to be really important. That London game is going to be crucial for Houston. I
think that's their biggest. I think that's their biggest game.
I think so too.
Yep.
That and Gladiators are both. If they could get either one of those, I think they're in. I think they're safe.
I agree.
If they drop both, they're in dire jeopardy, and depending on map differential at that point.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And they'll have to beat the Hunters in their last game.
Yeah,
exactly. And so that's. That is why, though, I think that they win those games. At least one of them, maybe both.
Yeah.
I definitely see them winning the Spitfire game. I think that team might be the worst playoff team potentially to make it. Honestly, as weird as that sounds, I don't like it, and I'm a Spitfire fan. That is my actual team. So I'm a little over,
critical.
Maybe I'm a little too hard on them. But yeah, I think Houston has that thing that the Valiant don't, which is experience, and that is crucial. How do you do in the tough times? How do you do when the pressure is so hard on you? And there aren't that many teams in this bracket that we're talking about that have the experience that Houston have. And they didn't do it last year, and I think they're going to do it this year.
Yeah. That's what I think. It's an interesting note you're bringing that up. So I think the Valiant, like you have players like Shax and Fact Fiction that don't have a lot of formal experience. Fact Fiction has some with the Outlaws, Shax very little, Overwatch League.
Yeah.
But this is where I think also those 11, 12, and 13 teams, the Reign, Hunters, and Charge, are all expansion teams with obviously relatively little experience. This could really be where things turn up a notch for those 3 teams, and where maybe even you give an advantage to Dallas in this situation. But all that aside, I think Houston last season missed playoffs because of map differential. They lose their spot to the Fusion, who end up going on and doing pretty well, I would say, getting to the finals. So that's got to be as bitter of a loss as Yeah, that's true. It's got to be as bitter of a loss as you can suffer as a team, as an organization. They've gone through all this turmoil. I think the players are more motivated because of the despite factor. Like, despite all these things, we're going to win either way. And I think they are absolutely going to be one of the most on-fire teams coming out of it. I'm very confident in the ability to go 5-2. I think 6-1 is achievable. I think 7-0 is achievable. But they are the Houston Outlaws, after all, and we did. They lost to Florida last stage. Now, I mean, they won a lot of good games and had some really solid showings. Like, they beat the Shock, and they take New York to Mat 5 and stuff. But if you're losing to Paris or the Reign or the Justice or Chengdu, you are not making the playoffs. I'll just tell it how it is. If they lose any of those games, I think it's over. I think you just count them out right there.
You can't be a good team and be here.
Yeah.
Like, you're a good team maybe for this group, but like, you're not a good team yet if you can't get past this group.
Yeah, I totally agree. Zach, do you have any more thoughts on this?
No, I think it's pretty set. Like, I mean, obviously, any of these teams have a chance. That's why they're all here. They're fighting for those last spots before they have to fight for the last spots again to get into the playoffs. But I don't know. I think you're right, Rob, with the experience thing. I think that's going to be really helpful. They're going to be looking to avenge last season, where all the what ifs of if we had made it instead of Philly, what would have happened. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see who kind of gets into those last ones. And then, again, as I've said, those play-ins for those last two spots are just going to be insane.
Yeah.
Can we real quickly do this for 30 seconds?
I was going to do a closeout segment with something similar, so you might be about to say what I'm going to say. So.
Okay, who's the most dangerous team of this group?
I like that. I was going to do something different, but let's also do that. Let's do both.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do your thing first?
No, let's do this. Most dangerous team in the group. Go ahead, Rob.
I mean, I think it's got to be Houston. But I think the unpredictability of Chengdu make them scary to everybody. I want them to make it so badly just because if they are the 12th seed, they will be the scariest freaking 12th seed we probably see for a long time, man.
That's true.
If you ask any other team in this group that makes it, the ones who don't get the automatic qualifier, which is only 6th, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only top 6.
Oh,
so
okay.
Of those 6 teams, like, if you're asking me between London, Shanghai, Philadelphia, and then for me, Chengdu, Valiant, and Outlaws, which team I don't want to face, I would be like, dude, get me the hell away from the Hunters. I can't prepare for them.
Yeah.
This is a one-off. I don't have anything to do, and they could be that team that just pulls things out of absolutely nowhere and surprises the hell out of everybody.
Yeah. I've got to say my most dangerous team is probably the Valiant, just because of the tape recently. They've just looked unbelievably good. They've beat Vancouver. They're the only team to do that, and so I mean they're just like, they look so good and against the best, and you can't ask any more of them. To me, they're the 0-7 stage is like a scapegoat. Like it's like a, I don't know. It distracts you from the fact that how good they are. Like, it's a little distraction. I think they're so good right now. So I definitely say the Valiant.
Yeah, I gotta go Valiant too. I mean, as much as if I'm one of those 6 playoffs teams, don't want to play the Hunters, I don't want to play the Valiant, who have tasted the 0-7 season and know they don't want to be there and have just been absolutely surging since.
Yeah.
You want to be able to say, oh, we were able to beat the team that's surging, like we're still better than them. But when a team gets hot like that, you can throw everything else out the window. Like it doesn't matter what should happen. The Valiant should not have been the team to beat the Titans, but they did it. So I wouldn't want to be the Valiant. I wouldn't want to be facing off against the Valiant.
Totally agree.
One question I got to ask is, do you guys think, how much do you think that having tape versus not having tape on certain players and teams and their styles matters?
I think
that's why the Titans lost. I'm going to just straight up say
that's
it.
Fair.
I think that's why they lost. I think they had no idea how to prepare for them. I don't think they expected what they brought out.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they lost. From what I watched of that game,
I feel like the Titans have been close to losing a lot of series. This is just kind of the one where it broke. But I agree with your point. I think tape does matter immensely. That's why I think Stage 4 is going to be so crazy because we're basically starting fresh. We're past the no 2-2-2 discussion now. It's going to happen.
It's happening.
Like that's going to be crazy, and it's going to shake up all the stuff that we've talked about. It's going to shake up everything to its core. Washington could win like 4 or 5 games. Corey is one of the best Widowmakers in the world, and they've got good positional players. Maybe you cannot say there are no out of the realm predictions you can make right now. To me,
Toronto goes 7-0, makes the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
I stand by that 2-2-2 can be a very good thing for the Overwatch League, but I also think that it's very stupid of them to introduce it in the middle of a season.
I fully agree. I think the competitive integrity is just totally shot. But I will say, from what we disagree with it or not, reportedly all of the players and coaches that I've interacted with are all so in favor of it. There was all were very excited, very pro for it. So it could have even been a thing where the league was like, we're going to wait until after the season, and the players were like, no, let's do it right now. Like we hate our lives playing Brig every day. You never know, but I agree. I mean, it's ridiculous, but meh. I was going to do a quick segment. This is just like 10 seconds. All right, so the 3 teams we didn't talk about in the lower end of the bracket, I think the ones above are safe. I think Spitfire, Dragons, and Fusion are all safe at 12 wins. I don't see any of those teams going worse than 2-5. I mean, honestly, that's pretty far-fetched. Maybe some of them do go 2-5, and they have 14 wins and still make it. But that's outside the point. Of Paris, Boston, and Toronto, Paris and Boston being at 8-13, Toronto being at 7-14. If you had to pick one, which team slides into the 12 seed, 11 seed, makes the playoffs? Zach.
It's got to be Toronto. They brought in so many new players, as we talked about last year. They had a good stage 1, haven't had a good stage 2 or 3, but making all these additions with the 2-2-2, if anything is going to happen with those bottom 3 teams, it's going to be Toronto because no one's going to know what to expect.
Yeah. Rob, what about you?
I wanted to pick Toronto, but having 7 wins actually really sways me.
They would have to go 7-0. Yeah, they would have to. I think.
I'm going to, so Connor saw my prediction for Florida over Houston.
Yes.
Okay?
It's true. It
I'm
happens.
having another premonition, Connor.
Oh, don't you say it. You get that out of here. You get it out.
There's a little guy from Russia.
Oh my god. A little guy.
May have just gotten signed by Montreal.
Okay, yeah. Mistake.
Who also played for a team that seems to be in desperate need of a DPS player.
It's true.
His name is Mistakes, I think.
Yeah.
And it's coming to me that if he goes to Boston, there could be some trading for a team that really seems to only be lacking that DPS presence. And if we're not playing out this whole 2-2-2 baloney, right? We know it's happening.
This is a hot take.
I'm going to tell you right now, I think Boston's going to go out and they are going to go trade for somebody. They're going to try to grab whatever they can. And I legitimately think they could potentially make a run.
God, if he goes back to Boston after what happened to him, I don't think he would ever do it. That'd just be.
What are you talking about, dude? You guys should see what happened. Sorry, weird, small, not tangent, but small connection here. There's a guy named Phoenix who plays for Echo Fox right now in League of Legends. This guy literally, they screwed him so hard that they cut him the day after he wouldn't be allowed to sign for another team for the rest of the season, in the middle of the season. And he still came back, has been benched 3 times, and is still starting for that team.
Yeah. Wow. Just that's the viciousness of esports. So, you have to take the money wherever it comes.
Sports people. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to take a job.
I get it.
And sometimes you don't have a choice because you get traded.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you.
Question is, who does Boston have to trade though? Who are they?
It doesn't matter. They don't even do trades in the Overwatch anymore. They're going to throw them a couple dollars and they're going to be like, okay.
Yeah. But they have good DPS though in Boston. Like they have Color Hex and Blase.
I'm not confident that that's a team that gets it done. There's a
yeah.
reason why Mistakes played well and played out of his mind last year when he came in.
It's true. So
And
you're,
I'm
so
not.
you're
And
saying
even if it's not Mistakes,
so you're saying of
it's
those
Boston.
3 teams, you think it's Boston?
It's got to be Boston because
Wow.
Paris suck. They're just not a good team. I'm sorry.
Paris do suck.
They're a bad
Wow.
team. And I think Toronto does have the best team, but I do think that extra loss right now is hurting them. I think it is crushing their chances. Toronto would be the easy choice, but I do think Boston go out and they go get a player. I don't care if it's not DPS. They're going to go get somebody, I think, and they're going to go try to make a run because whether we like it or not and how much we love the Valiant and how much we love the Outlaws, Boston and Paris are in the exact same realm right now, technically, in terms of wins and losses.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Boston's map differential is god awful.
It's bad. I was just looking at map differential, and
it is bad.
It's bad.
It is bad. But again, if it's out of these 3 teams, I think Boston has the best chance.
Okay. Well, this is fun then, because I'm going to say Paris. So we all 3 picked a different one. Look at that, fun.
Ooh,
so I'm going to continue on my strain of logic of the best recent team. Toronto's been just absolute horse shit recently. We're past the show being over partially, so we can say those kinds of things. We're still on air though.
Watch
But,
hours after hours.
yeah, after hours watch house. That's all this is. Yeah.
It's just like D&D, man.
Yeah. So I think Toronto's looked awful. Their additions are exciting, but they've just still looked just poo bad. Boston is just about as bad. And then Paris went 3-4 last stage. A very quiet, mediocre, average stage. Then they come out next, in stage 4. They have to play the Valiant in New York. Those are their 2 yikes games that I think they probably lose. But if they just lose those 2 and end up kind of popping off after that and go 5-2, I think Paris could be close. I mean, that only gets them to 13 wins.
So you're believing in Soon and Shadowburn then?
Yes, and so this is where I was going to get to next. Is I actually think that soon. So when we thought of Paris preseason, we're like, okay, this is the EU Goats team. They're going to kill Goats, and then they actually get their roster together, and it's like a shadow of what an EU All-Star team would look like, and it's kind of weird. Then they have these DPS players that are really good. They have Shadowburn and Soon. They have some others as well that are significant and good players. They have, I think they have a decent amount of depth. Cruz is a feeder, but he's decent at the game. They have more, I think, more options than a team like Boston does. Toronto, if they were at 8-13, I would pick in a heartbeat and go against my logic of recent performance. But because they have to go 7-0, I just can't do it. Mm-hmm. So I have to go with Paris just because of their roster. I actually do believe in it. And yeah, I mean, this is a team with some veteran leadership in Shadowburn and Soon that can get the team through some tough times. Toronto lacks a lot of that, and I think Boston is just struggling for a lot of different reasons right now. I don't know that it'll get better for them for a while, but so I de facto just have to pick Paris. So again, I am not confident.
You almost convinced me, honestly.
I'm not confident in any of those 3.
I keep forgetting about Soon and Shadowburn. I'm just going to be honest. I literally continuously forget about them.
Yeah.
And Shadowburn was one of my favorite players last year. So
if it turns into like a Widow Genji, like dive while the Widow stands back, and you put Soon on Widow and Shadowburn on Genji, just the 2 classics. I mean that
Dude, that could be a very dangerous team at that point.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
So we're past showtime, so we'll quickly do our final segment we do every week. Our WatchHaus Words of Wisdom, where we either say a Confucius says kind of thing, very philosophical, just statement, or we give you something to be on the lookout for, or it's our open mic night at the pub. It's our last word. So, does anyone want to start of the 3 of us? Zach, you look like you are so ready to drop a philosophical bomb right now. So
I'm ready.
I'm going to hand it over to you.
My WatchHaus Words of Wisdom is you should always listen to Rob except when you shouldn't.
Ooh.
Those are actually extraordinarily good words.
That's pretty good.
Not even going to deny it.
Rob, what is your WatchHaus?
I'd like to go last.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, mine is that this is the most how do I put this? the Stage 3 playoffs are going to be one of the best stage playoffs of all time. This is one of the last times we're going to see, it is probably the last time we're going to see Overwatch played competitively at the highest level where you can play any number of classes. You don't have to be restricted to roles. So that's very significant. This is almost like a true season playoffs because this is the meta that's been played up to this point, and we have what I would definitely consider are the 8 best teams competing right now in this grouping. To the point where...
the Gladiators.
Yes, I actually very much agree with that.
Thank you.
Yes. But like to the point where Vancouver or the Shock could get eliminated, possibly in the first round. So I think this is a wide open stage playoffs. It is going to absolutely be exciting. If I had to give a hot take about it, I would say that this is going to be New York's rise back to the top and they win it all. But again, I could just as easily see like Houston or the Valiant or the Spark winning it. So I like the fact that it's so much of an unknown. This is the culmination of so much Overwatch, so much strategy coming into one stage playoffs. Teams are going to leave it all on the line. Their last time to play this kind of brand of Overwatch, so expect it to be really, really good.
That was way more profound than what I'm about to put out.
Wow,
so
Rob. So,
I'm glad that you did that.
well, you wanted to go last, so.
So,
Wow.
Confucius says, "You do not shit on your own team. That jersey you are wearing,
Oh my
alive,
God.
or you shall be forever cursed."
Oh my God. All right. Well, I don't have
As
it.
I did not shit on mine, and somebody, where am I on this?
I don't know.
Somebody shit on theirs.
This is
Oh,
why
wait,
you come
wait,
on
wait.
wearing. This is why you come on wearing not an Overwatch League jersey.
Oh, yeah, seriously. Also, X7, thank you for the Twitch Prime. You dropped it at the worst possible time because now you're going to encourage Rob to do more of those kinds of statements.
Whoa. Those are good words
aye.
of wisdom. You do not wear a team that you like and then come on and be like, yeah, man,
That's
like,
true.
they don't got a chance. Like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be, like, the follower of a monk. You're, like, literally one of the cultists at this point.
I'm unbiased.
And you
I'm
don't even
a
support
reporter.
them.
I'm trying to be unbiased, dude.
You-
I can't
God,
I
who
can't let
taught you that?
I can't let my fandom affect my picks and predictions. Come
I've
on.
even had this conversation with Joe literally today about fandom in esports and their biases, and I'm mad at you right now for not having it. So
Wow. What can I do right? Oh,
clearly nothing.
nothing.
I mean,
Oh, it's over.
he thinks that Valiant are the best team going in there. Clearly they're not.
Go.
You know, he thinks that
Unbelievable.
Guangzhou's gonna make
Oh
it.
my
At least
God.
Zach and I share the same brain cell. Better get on our level, man.
Well, we need to wrap this show up clearly.
Yes,
No, this has been a ton of fun though. I mean, as you guys know, this is our recap episode where we recap all the good stuff. On Thursdays we have our preview episode where we preview whatever's coming up next. So if you want to know more about this exciting Stage 3 playoffs that we just talked about a little bit, go watch that show. We do predictions each week. We're tracking predictions. I don't know what the current standings are. Rob's definitely not winning.
Hey, I'm not in last by any stretch. I'm 3 games up, actually.
Wow. I'm like somewhere in the middle. I don't know where I am. But
I made a lot of predictions based off of what I think could happen, not what realistically was going to happen.
it's fair.
I was trying to pick up some games at the end, so I made a mistake.
Gotta do what you gotta do when you're desperate, you know? I understand.
Dude, that Washington pick was looking good for about 30 seconds.
But anyway, all this to say, go tune into that show for sure if you are able to. If you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube, thank you for watching. Again, thanks so much to my co-hosts, Zach and Rob. This was a ton of fun, actually. This has been great. Good discussion, good arguments. The Stage 4 is going to be super exciting. We're going to be here recapping all the games with you from Week 1 to Week 5, all the way into the Kit Kat weekend, or whatever the heck they're calling it these days. Delicious.
Oh yeah, Kit Kat did sponsor that. I forgot.
Yeah, it's kind of goofy.
Good for them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, this episode again, sponsored by Peaches, now also sponsored by Kit Kat. So we like to thank our corporate sponsors.
I'm about to go eat some Kit Kat ice cream. I legitimately have some in.
That's
Oh my
incredible,
God.
actually. See, this is the sponsorships we're talking about. He's got it at his house already. We're ready. Rob's got Peaches. We're good.
When are they going to send them to us? Did you ask them?
We need to. I'm trying to hound, but their PR people are just awful. You know how it is. All right. Well,
yeah, you don't get shit. That's because you shat on your team
yes.
on live. So I get peaches.
Yeah,
he
I'm gonna
gets
shit on
Kit
Kit Kats if they send them to me. I am gonna talk about how terrible, man. Reese's for life. I've been trying to end this episode for like 15 minutes. We just can't do it. We just can't do it. Chat. Thank you. If you're still in chat, thank you. This is amazing if you're still here. F's in the chat for trying to end this episode, am I right? Cool. Well,
just keep going at this point.
yeah, I guess we're really in the after hours watch house at this point. Hopefully this doesn't get put on the YouTubes.
It does.
Good. Excellent. Okay. All right, guys. Well, like I said, be sure to tune in to the Game Haus regularly scheduled programming. That is always great. Read our articles. It helps us a lot. It's the least you could do. And then, yeah, don't shit on teams when you're wearing their jersey. Okay. That's really all we have for our show tonight. We definitely need to get out of here. My name's Connor, co-hosts Zach and Rob. Thank you again so much, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.